studio. Maxwell was arrested in Ethiopia 4 years ago, recently sentenced to 10 years in jail just for being there and allegedly working illegally. He didn't know this. Serving a 10-year sentence. There are 3 other Kenyans there. There were originally 5. One died while they were still in remand. And it's a story that just is unbelievable, as it is pathetic that very few people have come out to talk about it, especially officials. One person who has talked a lot about it and covered it wall to wall is Steve Juma from NTV. Steve was there from the start. He says, I know Maxwell's story. I covered it. I could not withstand the pain in the tears of Millicent, who keeps traveling back and forth to Ethiopia only to see her son for 5 minutes. Steve Juma also covered the story when they brought Zach's body back. Zach was one of Maxwell's colleagues who was with him and arrested there. He died of depression in an Ethiopian hospital. So, yeah, this story has been covered and extensively by people like Stephen Juma, but the government, we haven't heard a thing from the government. I don't know why. But in the meantime, there is an M. Changa account. The title is Bring Max Home. Bring Max Home. The pay bill number is 891-300. 891-300. Account number 16260. 16260. All Bertha Ogosi and Millicent Akello want is to have their brother, their son, back home because he was arrested and charged with something he never did. They just want him back home. And the other Kenyans languishing in Ethiopian jails. Again, Bertha, if someone was listening to you who is in some kind of capacity, what would you tell them right now? What would you tell these are people in authority?
I would ask them to consider, to just think of if it were their children who are there, suffering, not knowing what will happen to them next. If they could consider this and think about the parents of these children who are there, we kindly request them to try and whatever negotiations is needed between the two governments, to try and help us get these boys out of there. Me, I'm speaking as a mother, so I am not speaking only for Maxwell. I'm speaking for all the boys, all the Kenyan boys who are suffering in Ethiopia, who have been detained for not knowing what happened, because them they got jobs. But the jobs maybe turned out to be not legally registered in Ethiopia. So all we are pleading for is help from the government, especially if they can try and get back the boys through whatever negotiations can be done between the two countries.
Millicent, are you afraid you may never see your brother again? Does that cross your mind?
No. I'm always trusting God that he'll be back, and we are happy because of the courage that he has. It also encourages us. But it's sad that every time we go there to see him, we end up crying. Even when I see him, sometimes I have to excuse myself from the court just to go and cry, because I really feel for him. And I keep wondering and asking myself, when will this ever end? When will he ever come back home? Much as he's trying to encourage us, we don't know what to tell him, because he's the one encouraging us. We don't know what to tell him. He's the one in there. And the pain he's feeling, he's probably hiding it from us. Yeah.
Bertha, the pain of a mother. I'll ask you the same question. Are you afraid you may never see him again? Does that cross your mind?
It does. Sometimes it does, yes. Because if one of them suffered a depression, it could happen to any of them as well. Because prison is prison, whether you get to hear from your people or not. You are in prison in another country. So you could fall into a depression anytime. You could fall sick. You never know.
Absolutely. Ronald Vic says, so sad, Bertha. I've just found myself crying. I can't believe all this. Jeff and Jalas, you have the potential to reach out to leaders. Please get in touch with them. Get them lawyers. Get their cases to be held in Kenya. Lawrence Ngetich said, it is indeed sad to hear that story from Millicent. The Kenyan government must do something. Let them engage in talks with the Ethiopian government. Ethiopian government is very, very stubborn. You all know this, huh? Very stubborn. Someone was asking, what do you do when you apply for a visa to Ethiopia? Kenyans don't need visas anymore, right? That's the thing, right? They stopped that a while back, which is really good. Otherwise, you probably would never be able to get into Ethiopia, right?
So Ethiopia just to go?
Yeah, as a Kenyan passport, boom, Dani.
You go, but you are only allowed to be in there for 3 months.
Right, not more. Yeah.
How much is it ticket to Ethiopia now?
About 30,000.
30,000, huh?
Yes.
Return
And
trip.
actually, we just go there. We don't even
30,
we don't
35.
even spend, because you imagine the trips we make there,
Yeah.
and you cannot afford to again do a hotel.
No.
So we always do return.
We
You reach in
do
the morning, you
return,
attend
reach
the
in the
course,
Same day.
yes,
Attend the court, come back to...
and then the flight that is there, you'll have to hang on there. You only see max for 5 minutes.
Then you go
have
back to
whole
the
day
airport.
to just stay at the airport until 11 at night.
So
That's when you're
8
coming
hours
back.
of waiting at the airport for the 11 p.m.
That's stress.
Yes.
That is stress. Again, there's some lawyer's fees, and there's a fine that Maxwell got while he was there, totaling 1.6 million shillings. And there's an M. Changa account number. This is it. It's for Bring Max Home. Pay bill numbers 891300. Again, pay bill number 891300. And the account number is 16260. Again, account number 16260. Some final thoughts. I'll start with you, Millicent. Final thoughts going forward. What would be the perfect thing to happen going forward?
The perfect thing.
Yeah.
To happen.
In a perfect world, what would you want to happen?
Okay, much as we are trying to raise money, I would ask, because I know the government have the authority to do this, just the same way they did it to the guys in Sudan. They have the authority and the power to do the same for the for the people arrested in Ethiopia. So my appeal is also to the government that if they could just do the same thing they did to the people who were arrested in Sudan, and kindly bring our brothers back home, because we might be helpless. We might collect this money. We might get it. We might use it the way it's needed. But that probably will not bring Max back home yet. So we ask for them, for their help, because I think that is more, it would work better than even us giving money. This money might go, I mean, we've already used that money before. We've used a lot of money on that, just to try and see how we can help Max, visit him, and just encourage him. But at the end of the day, nothing has happened in the last 4 years. Yeah. We can still raise this money, pay the lawyer, pay the fine, and still we may have Max serving the 10 years. So if the government could help us on this, the same way they helped, if they can do it government to government, just to help Max and the other 4 Kenyans come back home.
Bertha, you get the final word. Do you think 6.5 years from now you will still be alive?
It's not sure. It's not guaranteed. Life is short, and anything could happen anytime. So I am not sure whether I will be able to ever see Max again. So my appeal is for the government to help, to go and try and negotiate with the Ethiopian embassy. We might be trying to raise funds, but this, you never know the outcome of court cases. So the funds could still go if we manage to raise, but the outcome of the case could not be that the Maxwell is released. So for us, the government is the the better option, because if they talk government to government, all the boys who are suffering there would be released. Yeah, because some of them have nobody to go to. Their parents have tried all they can, but if your voice is not aired to the relevant authorities, then it's no way you will be able to have to see your son again.
And if Maxwell is listening to you right now, what do you tell him?
I would tell him just to have faith, just to be strong, to have faith that all things are possible, because it's God who gives life, God who knows the destiny, whether it is he will be released or it's God. I have nothing. I can tell, or I can only tell him to trust in God. Yeah.
Bertha Ogosi, Millicent Okello, thank you so much for spending time with us and telling us Maxwell Omondi's story. We'll try and push it as much as we can, but my goodness, you guys must have been going through hell the last 4 years. Hell, that's all I can describe it. And we wish you all the best, because this is just wrong. It's wrong and it's shameful. And I hope it comes to a better conclusion than it has right now. Thank you so much for your time.
It's the Hot Breakfast with Jeff and Jalango.